Today I'm joined by Will Sanderson. Will's the managing director of Shell-Clad, which is a UK-based company that specialises in the design and supply of modular exhibition and stand solutions. So, welcome, Will.
Oh, hi there.
Hi, good. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah, that's no problem at all. Glad to be here.
Good. Well, look, Will, tell us a little bit more about sort of Shell-Clad and what Shell-Clad does.
Yeah, so we're an exhibition company which specializes in seamless graphics. So the idea of the company is that we wanted to take a bit more of a sustainable approach to exhibitions, but as well as that, innovate and try to think a little bit outside of the box. We not only do kind of design and building of these stands, but also we do wholesale as well. Our wholesale side is for our patented products. So we've got a clip system which goes directly into shell schemes, so you can create a seamless design on your graphics for your stand, really, as well as being cost effective, but also being sustainable. Because instead of it being a throwaway product, it's something that gets reused or recycled at the end of the event to make sure that you're just cutting down on that kind of wastage that you have.
Okay, and look, you know, the businesses that you work with, are they, you know, what sort of size, or are they in any particular industries or anything like that?
Luckily for us, it could be anyone. So the typical people we've got three different categories, I would say. You have your normal exhibitor, so someone who's just from a small, medium, large business that's attending a show. They need a stand. We can deal with that. There's also agencies who then do the same as us and build a stand for someone, but using our materials. And then thirdly, we also have organisers for the events. Sometimes they will use our system as something which is to speed up their processes internally. If they're providing graphics for all of the exhibitors that come in, it's just to make it so it's just easier for them. It cuts down a lot of time for them, as well as that. It makes it so they don't have to pay a large wastage bill after the event.
Great. Look, thank you for that explanation. I appreciate that. So Will, your role, as I understand it, is you're the managing director
Mhm.
at Shell-Clad. So tell us a little bit more about your role and what being a managing director, what does it mean? What are the things that you do being a managing director?
It's a tough one, really. It's the reason why I say it's tough is because it's something which I thought about as soon as I thought of the question. I was thinking, what is it that I necessarily do, and what it means to be a managing director? I think it's different for everyone. For me personally, it's really just being kind of the face and the leader, and making sure that I lead by example for my team, as well as that, just kind of steering the ship, which is the business, into the course that we want to go into. But as well as that is just being the focal point of everyone's got ideas, and making sure that everyone is running their course and going through different ideas, and making sure that they're just, they're worked upon, and just giving everyone an opportunity to speak up. And as well as that, making sure it's taken into account, and just being that person that is there to fall back on, really.
Right. And look, you know, thinking back, I mean, was being a managing director of a company that designs and supplies modular exhibition stand solution, was that something that you always wanted to do, or how did it come about?
Um, no, definitely not. And I have had a very strange career path. I initially was a chef, and I was running a hotel with some family members. We didn't own it, but we just were all there. Um, I did that for a few years, realized it's not what I wanted to do. And I've never really ever known what I've wanted to do. I've always just taken opportunities as they've come to me. I've worked in tech, I've worked in software and different systems over the years, and took a liking to operations. Um, And with Shell-Clad, I was at a role at a previous company. Realized it was just not the environment I wanted. I struggled with work-life balance. It just wasn't a great fit for me. Um, and I was taking anything that anyone was offering at that stage. Um, and I was approached by two guys who bought a business, which ended up being Shell-Clad,
Okay.
and they essentially wanted me to run it. They said, "Look, you know, we've seen that the stuff that you've done in the past. We're not from the area. We don't want to relocate the business. We don't see the point in that. We see that you're up the road, and we would love for you to kind of come in and try run the business and see how you get on with it." Initially, I was meant to be hired as a sales manager, but that very quickly just turned into, let's give it a shot, just running it.
What a great opportunity. And so, and that, am I right in saying that was what, about, was it in about September last year? Have I got that right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, September last year.
all happened. Great. Okay. So, what what would you say the biggest challenge that you've faced being taking that role of being a managing director? What's the biggest challenge you've faced?
I think there's a lot of sense of imposter syndrome that you'll get with something like that, especially when you've not necessarily come at the bottom and worked your way up. You're coming in straight at the top. I think the biggest challenge I had was firstly probably my self-doubt that I was going to be able to pick it up and make it run. I think secondly to that as well is that this business has been running for 20 years under the same person. You've got staff members there that have been there from the start. I'm coming in. I don't want to rock the boat. I want to make sure that I'm keeping everyone as happy as possible. And I think that was a real struggle for me, to make sure that I'm not rocking the boat, making sure it's staying on its course, and we're still a well-running business. So yeah, I think that was probably the biggest struggle.
Okay. So thinking back to that, what did you was it how did you overcome that challenge of that imposter syndrome, the self-doubt, coming into a business that had been run for 20 years and other people have been there longer? What How did you overcome those challenges?
I think it's more about managing the people, because for me, I went in there and I made it very clear to everyone that was already there that you guys know a lot more than I do and what's going on in this business. I trust you guys to give me all of the information, the expertise, sitting down with everyone that was there, and just getting all of their experience, getting all their information. It didn't matter if they were just someone who sat there packing boxes. I wanted to know what their process was and how they worked, how I could improve it. Because at that time, I thought if I can improve their lives and just show them the one small quick win, that means that they'll then gain the respect of, look, he's not trying to rock the boat, he's trying to help me. And that helped me massively. And I can quite happily say that, all of my team that were there from the start, which are still here now, have respected me a lot for that, and just given me a lot of the guidance to kind of push the business where it needs to be.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's really important. What you sort of said there is actually, you know, opening up and saying, "Look, guys, you've got the expertise in running this business, and that's not why you specifically have been brought in. They've got the knowledge and expertise. What the reason that you were brought into the business is for those management qualities that
Yeah.
two owners saw in you to lead the team, manage the team, and those sort of things. But because the team's already got the expertise, and actually openly saying that, look, guys, this is how we're going to work together. And I like the bit you said about quick wins as well.
Yeah.
Getting them on side by helping them. How can I make your life easier? So great stuff, love it. So, well, what would you say your biggest learnings have been since you've been in the role?
I think for me, I had a tendency of trying to do everything myself.
Mm.
and learning to delegate and learning to let other people help and step in. To me, I took the whole company's weight on my shoulders
Wow.
and thought, if every little thing that went wrong, it was my fault.
Mm.
Um, and I learned over time that I need to delegate. I really need to let people help me, and just having the strength to be able to let people help me from outside. If it's something like a family member who's been in a similar boat and saying to them, I'm struggling here, can you help me? And showing that vulnerability. Um, that was a big learning curve to learn that that's okay.
I think that art of delegation is a real important one, and I use that. I specifically refer that to it as an art because um, to be effective with delegation is an art and a skill. It's not, as we know, it's the difference between delegation and abdication, two very different things. So yeah, to get that right is a learning process. And how did you feel, Will, when you were taking everything on the shoulders, the whole weight of the company? How did that make you feel?
Oh, awful.
Yeah.
You felt it. I think the best way to explain it is that I felt guilty.
Mm.
Um, I felt guilty having time off. I felt guilty being at home, or if I wasn't in 2 hours before everyone else and left 2 hours after everyone left, I felt guilty for doing that. And I definitely felt guilty when a problem had come up and I wasn't there to deal with it or wasn't there to help. It was awful, just feeling like that all the time.
It's and that can be a real challenge for
Mm.
leaders, managers, business owners in that um yeah, those exactly how you've explained it there. Feeling as though you need to be there all the time, feeling as though you're letting your team down if you're not there, feeling as though you're slacking if you take holiday or if you're not in before everyone else. But actually the skill of a manager and a leader is that somebody said this to me once, Will. They said the sign of a good leader is that nobody knows when you're not there.
Yeah,
And I think that's a brilliant phrase, isn't it? That actually, when you're not there, everything just carries on, and that shows that yeah, you've set everything up that it works well, and not that you're there to solve everyone's problems, but you've given them the tools and the skills and the knowledge to solve their own problems.
that's it.
Not so it's a real difference, isn't it? And yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's I think that's a really important thing. So what would you, if I was to ask you, Will, what would you say the top three sort of skills of a managing director are, in your opinion? What would you say those top three things are?
I think it's firstly probably being understanding
Yeah.
of situations. I think not everything can be by the book when situations come up. I think being a very understanding person of other people's situations. Secondly, to that is understanding differences in situations as well. You might have two different scenarios that are completely different, but they look the same. And I think definitely listening and managing team, being a people person is huge, really, because I would say that most leaders that I know are all people, and that's all they really know. They might not be very technically minded. They might not be necessarily good at well, I would say like finance or running a business, but they're a people person who knows how to connect things together.
Mm.
And that's all you need is making sure that people are communicating and people are happy and things will work their way out through that way and hiring the right people, obviously.
Great points there in terms of yeah, listening. Again, listening. It seems odd because it's such a natural thing to do, but it's about the importance of listening and how we listen. So listening with the intent to understand, not the intent to respond.
Yeah.
Um, you know, we often listen to the intent to respond. Somebody's saying something and we think, how am I going to respond to that? And then we stop listening to what they're saying because we're thinking about how we're going to respond rather than taking that on. And then the thing you mentioned there about, being a people person as well. Again, somebody said to me once that a good leader is somebody that people want to follow, not have to follow.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're following them because they want to, not because they have to. So yeah, people have got those sort of people skills. And then that last bit you mentioned there about hiring people. Yeah, hiring the right people with the right values and culture and that fit with the organization. Such an important thing in a business. Hiring one wrong person can be expensive and can affect the whole business. So getting that hiring right. And again, it doesn't mean that you have to hire everyone. It just means that your team have got the skills to hire people, the right people. You've got a hiring process in place. So yeah, really important. Great things. Thank you for sharing those, Will. And look, there's there's one question that I like to ask everyone that joins me on this session, and this is the question: what advice, or what would be the best bit of advice you would give to an 18-year-old you?
Very difficult one. No, I think I would say to myself that not everyone knows what they're doing as a start. I think when you're 18, you're trying to get into a career, you think everyone in leadership knows exactly what they're doing all the time. They don't. Everyone is constantly learning. It just depends on how far they are with their learning. I don't think that anyone who's in the highest of the highest businesses are ever sat there content that they know everything. There's always challenges and always something that they don't know. It's making sure that you have the initiative to learn it as much as you can and take in as much knowledge as you can. I would say that's probably what I'll tell myself.
Love that, Will. And again, absolutely agree with you. I mean, and I can echo that. I mean, I coach owners, leaders of multi-million-pound companies, and they've got that same thought process as you've got there, that they don't know everything.
Yeah.
There's always things to learn, always things to know, and yeah, constant knowledge keeps us at our best. And by the way, the moment we stop learning, we're going backwards because the world around us is constantly changing.
That's it.
A great example of that at the moment is AI.
Yeah.
If we don't learn about AI, then we're going backwards. So there's always stuff to learn.
Oh, exactly. And I think with AI as well is that it is a fantastic tool for learning. I mean, it's learning itself. I think like I have family members which are in development, and I would happily say that they've managed to learn development, things like Python or JavaScript, probably 6 months earlier than a normal person would, because they've used AI to help them build things and understand it in a better way. And it's a fantastic tool.
It is a fantastic tool, and yeah, like it's here to stay, and it will change and evolve and just get better and better. But the thing is, if we don't start learning about it now, then the gap to what it's moving to will get bigger, and we'll think, oh, how am I ever going to learn it now, because it's just so far ahead. Whereas if we gradually try and keep pace with it and keep learning it, keep up to date, that gap won't get bigger. And by the way, Will, my view is that AI, like for instance, AI won't replace managing directors. Managing directors that use AI will replace managing directors that don't.
That's it. I don't think it will ever replace anything necessarily. I think it would just help people's work. One example which I had was when ChatGPT first came out. A lot of people said, "Oh no, there's development jobs going." I think it was more of a coincidence at that time, but then you started seeing job roles for prompt engineers, and I thought, well, that's just someone putting in the right prompt into ChatGPT and getting the correct result, and it's created then a job for that someone has to run the AI. I thought, well, there you go. It's opened up more jobs. It's not taking them away.
No, I agree. I agree. It's going to help us to be productive and efficient, and yeah. But look, I think we can have a separate discussion on that at some point in the future, Will.
Yeah.
It's a massive subject, isn't it? But and something I'm quite passionate about. But look, for today, Will, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me and sharing more about your business and also your journey as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you.